Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am doing my top eyeshadow essentials video. So I actually just saw Allison Chase. She did a video on her 5 summer eyeshadow essentials, and she made this into a tag. So I thought that I would do a video inspired by her video, so I will leave her video down below. But I decided not to do the summer essentials just because my summer essentials are literally the same as like my fall essentials. So I just thought that I would make this a video on my essential eyeshadows in my entire collection. So these are my top 10 eyeshadows in my entire collection, and I just thought that that would be a good video to have on hand so that you know all the eyeshadows that I recommend. And I feel like 10 is a good number because I am listing one and done eyeshadows as well as palettes. And if you know me, I am someone who is really simple with my makeup. I like it to be very fast and easy. I like more natural looks. So those are all the eyeshadows that you are going to see in today's video. So thank you, Allison Chase, for the video idea. And before we get started into this video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Like this video if you like it, and let's just get started. I'm going to start with the one and dones first. So I am definitely someone that gravitates more towards one and dones. They're just my favorites to grab on a daily basis. They're just super easy. They are multi-purpose. They're great for any occasion, and they're great if you want to get your makeup done quickly, if you want to be more efficient. I just love how they pull looks together. So I'm going to start with the newest in my collection. So this is the Sisley Ombre Éclat Liquid Eyeshadow, and this is in the shade number 2 Copper. So I actually just picked this up, I want to say like 2 weeks ago, so I have been playing with it, and it is fantastic for a liquid eyeshadow. I was a little hesitant to purchase this at first, just because liquid eyeshadows can be a little bit more finicky. But I have heard a bunch of you in the comments say that you really enjoy this formula, so I decided to pick one up, and you guys were right. This is a fantastic liquid eyeshadow. It is so beautiful. So the shade is called Copper, but I would not say that it is an actual true copper tone. When you think of a copper eyeshadow, you usually think of something that's really warm toned and quite orangey. This is actually quite a neutral shade. It maybe leans slightly warm, but it doesn't come into the territory of copper at all. I would say it's more of like a taupey bronze shade. So it's very much neutral. It offers the most beautiful sheen. There is nothing glittery to this at all. There are no glitter flecks. It just offers the most beautiful sheen to your eyes. And this is incredibly easy to use. So you can actually just apply it from the doe foot applicator onto your eyes, which is really nice for a liquid eyeshadow because a lot of the times I find with liquids, sometimes they can be finicky to use, and a lot of the time you can't actually go in with the product right from the doe foot applicator. You have to apply it to the back of your hand first, so it's easier to work with. But this is incredibly sheer when you apply it onto the lids, so it just blends in such a beautiful way. The formula is so lovely to work with, and it just gives your eyes a really beautiful glow. It is not over the top, it's not overwhelming. I am using this today as my eyeshadow base, and then I layered some other eyeshadows on top, so I'll go over what I'm wearing later on. But this is just a beautiful formula, and it does set down on the eyes. I think this is perfect for the summer months as well, because when it's really hot and humid, you want something that's not going to crease, you want something that's going to last. And this is very long wearing for what it is, and it just has a very beautiful kind of natural quality to it because it doesn't have too much shimmer to it. What a beautiful formula. I am so impressed with this, and I'm kind of upset I didn't pick this up earlier because I think this is gorgeous. I love this tone as well because it makes for the perfect one and done because it's not too deep, it's not too light, it just works perfectly on its own. But like I said, you can layer shadows over top. That is just fantastic. Next, I'm going to talk about something that I also recently talked about. This is the Chantecaille Mermaid Eye Color. My favorite shade is the shade Copper. But whatever tone speaks to you or whatever shade speaks to you, I'm mostly talking about the formula here. This is just a beautiful formula. This is what I would say a cream to powder formula. So it does have a creamy consistency to it, but it doesn't actually feel like a cream. When you feel a cream, it almost feels moussey. This just feels like a creamy powder eyeshadow, essentially. But what I love about this is, again, it gives you a gorgeous sheen, but it's nothing over the top at all. And it is quite pigmented, if you can see that here. So it's a little bit lighter than the Sisley Copper shade. It's a little bit less pigmented than the Sisley shade, but they have the same kind of depth to them. They're both a beautiful color, and this is also the shade Copper, but again, it's not really a copper color because it's not really orangey or too warm or anything like that. This to me is more of like a beige champagne shade, which is just beautiful as a one and done. It gives you the most sophisticated sheen on your eyes. It is easy to work with. Again, this is incredibly long wearing for a cream to powder formula. This would be fantastic on more mature eyes because, again, it does have that beautiful sheen without having any of that intermittent shimmer. It's nothing sparkly or glittery. You're not going to have anything falling on your face. It's incredibly long wearing. Again, perfect for the summertime when you want something that will not budge. And it just looks elegant and beautiful every time you wear it. It is never over the top. Such a fantastic formula. I'm such a huge fan of these eyeshadow singles, and they're great for travel as well because they're very compact. You can just take it with you and they're just perfect. And then next on my list, I also have another Chantecaille eyeshadow. This is the Chantecaille Luminescent eye shade in the shade Lion, which is a golden copper. So the luminescent eye shades are fantastic one and done eyeshadows. This is just my favorite shade. Again, I'm mostly talking about the formula here. So if a color speaks to you, I recommend you just get the color that you want. But I'm someone who likes really neutral, basic, boring shades. So this is my favorite one. And I have actually gone through a whole entire compact of this. This is actually a backup that I bought. So I have bought this shade twice because I just love it that much. I can't be without it. This is my favorite one and done eyeshadow. It is so beautiful. And this is a Baked Gelée shade. And in comparison to the other two, like, look at how beautiful that is. That just adds a beautiful glow without it being over the top. So in comparison to the other two shades that I mentioned, the Sisley and the Chantecaille Mermaid Eye Color, this definitely has way more intensity to it. So it has a lot more pigmentation to it. So if you want something that's a little bit of a step up, like if this Chantecaille Mermaid Eye Color is your daytime, this would be perfect for the evening. There are some intermittent shimmers in there, but they're very, very elegant. They're very sophisticated on the eyes. They are not glitter chunks at all. Like when you feel it, it's not actually chunky. You're not going to see any glitter flecks on your eyes because I do not enjoy that. This just gives you a beautiful glow to your eyes. Really has that beautiful, like, soft, sporadic shimmer where it offers a lot of dimension and a lot of depth because there's kind of different color shimmers throughout this eyeshadow. So when you apply this eyeshadow, it almost looks like you've applied a few different colors. So if you're looking for an eyeshadow that offers a lot of dimension and a lot of impact just from applying that one shade, this is the formula to go with. This is also a wet to dry formula. So you can use this dry and get a little bit of a softer look. But if you use this wet, you can use either, I don't really recommend water, but if you use the Chantecaille Rose Water or like a MAC Fix Plus, you can get a lot more intensity and it almost looks foiled on the eyes. So you're gonna get more of a dramatic effect. And I really like using that, like, especially throughout the holiday months. You can pair it with like a bronze eyeliner, like in the waterline, on the top lash line, and you can get a lot of drama from just using one eyeshadow, but it adds so much dimension because of this formula and just all that intensity. It is just so beautiful. One of my favorite shadows of all time. And then next, I have something that I would say is pretty similar to the Chantecaille Luminescent eye shades. These are the Bobbi Brown Luxe eyeshadows, and my favorite shades are the shade Heat Ray and Opalescent. So I'm kind of cheating by mentioning two shades, but they're both really, really beautiful. Heat Ray is definitely more of an actual true copper tone. It's more, I don't want to say it's orangey because I wouldn't say it's orange, but it's just definitely more copper. It's really, really, really beautiful. Again, very similar to the Chantecaille Luminescent eye shades. I would actually say the Chantecaille Luminescent eye shades have a little bit more shimmer to them, like just a little bit more reflection to them. The Bobbi Brown is just a little bit, I guess I would say, smoother. And then I will show you the shade Opalescent. I think if I had to choose a shade, I would say Opalescent. It is just stunning. It's like a beautiful champagne shade, but it leans a little bit more on the golden side. But these are just so, so beautiful, and I feel like they're really underrated. I don't really hear many people talking about the Bobbi Brown eyeshadows, but they're so beautiful. Again, they just go onto the eyes beautifully. They give you that kind of wet, glossy-eyed effect that I just think is gorgeous and stunning and looks beautiful for day, for evening, kind of any occasion makeup. They're just perfect one and dones. Again, if I had to choose a shade, I think I would go with Opalescent. It's just a little bit more subtle than the Heat Ray, which has a little bit more copper tones to it, but super beautiful. And then to round out the single eyeshadows, I had to mention the Surratt Artistique eyeshadows. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. My two favorite shades are the shade Griege and Cuivre. I think Cuivre is copper and Griege, I don't know, it's like a taupey shade. And they're just such a beautiful formulation. So very similar to the Chantecaille Mermaid eye color in that they're kind of that cream to powder formula. When you feel these eyeshadows, they are very creamy, but they apply like a powder product. They just kind of melt into your eyes like a cream product would. They're such a beautiful formulation. If you are someone with mature eyes, this is a beautiful formula because they do not look powdery on the eyes at all. They're just such a smooth, buttery, velvety texture, and they're just so smooth. So there are the two shades swatched. Very similar in tone. The Cuivre shade just has a little bit of a sheen to it, but they're just so subtle and gorgeous and just such sophisticated eyeshadows that I just think would suit absolutely anyone. These are beautiful neutral tones that I use on a daily basis. I absolutely love that. So these shades actually come in the Surratt Beyond Beige palette, but there are just two shades in that palette that aren't my absolute favorite. So I just recommend picking up singles from Surratt in the colors that, again, speak to you the most because they are truly beautiful. Now, I don't usually use these as one and dones. If I am using a matte eyeshadow, I'll go in with one of these. Even though the Cuivre shade does have a bit of a sheen, it almost looks more like a matte, so I just use it like I would a matte, like applying it maybe in the crease or the lower lash line. But these are the shades I typically reach for. Maybe if I want to add a little bit of depth to any of the one and done eyeshadows, or if I want to add a little bit of color onto the lower lash line, these are the shades that I reach for because, again, they're just a really beautiful formula to work with. They never look powdery, they never have fallout, they never look overdone. They're just beautiful tones. And now I'm moving on to the eyeshadow quads. Now, I'm definitely more of a one and done eyeshadow person. I'm not a large palette person because I just never pull them out, if I'm being honest. During my work week, I'm never going to reach for a palette in my makeup drawer. That's just, I don't know, just doesn't feel very efficient to me. I'm definitely more of a quad person or a one and done person just because I will never use up a full palette. I just know myself, I will never ever use up a full palette. I'll maybe use two shades in a palette. So for me to get that kind of cost per use, it's just better for me to have a quad or a one and done because I'll actually use the shades in them. So one palette that I want to mention that I'm so sorry you cannot pick up anymore. This is the Chanel Mediterranean eyeshadow quad. This is the best eyeshadow quad that Chanel has ever come out with. It's also the best eyeshadow quad in my entire collection, if I'm being honest. I'm so upset that this is limited edition. I already have a backup of this. I purchased it when we could still get our hands on that because I just know myself and I don't want to be without this palette. This is my perfect palette. It's a beautiful baked jelly formula, so it gives you a beautiful sheen, nothing over the top. You can use them wet and dry. You've heard me go on about baked jellies and how much I love them, but just wanted to mention that this is in my top 10 eyeshadow list, even though unfortunately you can't get your hands on it. Maybe Chanel will re-release it, hopefully. Fingers crossed, because it's truly the best eyeshadow quad they have released. But I do love another Chanel eyeshadow palette. It's not a quad, it's a quint. But this is the Chanel Les Beiges Healthy Glow Natural Eyeshadow Palette in the shade Intense. This was released last year for the summer collection, I believe. And I absolutely adore this palette. Now, this is definitely a different formulation from the other eyeshadows that I have mentioned so far. This is quite a powdery formula. So when you dip your brush into this, you're going to get quite a lot of powder kick-up. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that you'll get a little bit more pigmentation. But even though these are more powdery formula, they're very easy to blend. They're very easy to work with. I just love this color story because, again, it's more of those neutral tones. And the shimmers in this offer that beautiful, sophisticated sheen. They're not over the top. They're not sparkly. They don't have that intermittent shimmer that falls on your face. Just a really great formulation. And I just feel like this is such a great any occasion palette, again, because I can keep with these lighter tones during the daytime if I'm going to work. And then in the evening, I can go in with some of the deeper tones, maybe use them as a bit of an eyeliner or kind of smoke up my look a little bit more. I just find this a very easy palette to work with. And while this does offer decent pigmentation, it's not hard to blend. The formulation is very buttery in comparison to some of the other Les Beiges eyeshadows that had been released previously. These are definitely way, way, way better. So I think they did fix up the formula. Just such a great palette. I really love this one. They're not just straight up neutrals. There is a bit of a green tone in some of the deeper shades, so you have a bit more interest than just the basic boring neutral nude palettes that I have mentioned so far. And next pick on my top 10 essentials list is the Clé de Peau number 305. This is the Satin Moon eyeshadow quad. I really, really love this formula. Now, this is definitely a different formula. Again, I would say it's more comparable to the Chanel Intense palette that I just mentioned. The eyeshadows are quite powdery, but they have such a smooth, buttery texture to them. I've said this before about Clé de Peau, just powder products in general. When you feel them, they almost feel like a fabric. They're so smooth and velvety. They feel so buttery, just such a creamy formulation. And again, that makes it really great for more mature eyes, or if you have really dry skin like me. These are just very beautiful on the eyes. They look so lovely. Again, they offer a very sophisticated, beautiful sheen, nothing over the top, nothing too much. They don't pack a ton of pigment. So if you want something really soft that's great just for the everyday, or if you're someone that just doesn't like your makeup to look over the top, if you don't even like something that's really shimmery, if you like something that just offers more of a sheen, these are absolutely fantastic. And I just really love this. So I love that you get those two cooler tones on this side of the palette, and then you get the two warmer shades. They actually pair up together really nicely, so you can mix and match and create a really beautiful neutral look using all the shades. You can stick to the more warm tones, you can stick to the cooler tones, whatever suits your fancy for that day, which is a really great formula. And I do like that this shade, it looks like it might be a black, but it's just kind of a charcoal shade. So it's not too harsh. I'm someone, I don't really like to wear black on my eyes because I just think it looks too intense and too harsh. Maybe now that I have brown hair, I can actually pull off black a little bit more, but I just prefer to stay with the softer tones. And I really like the looks that I get out of this palette. Really beautiful if you are looking for something really sophisticated, but you're someone that likes more neutral to cool tones. This is a great formula. And again, Clé de Peau just nails their products. They just offer such a buttery, creamy formula that never looks over the top. It's definitely more of that subtle makeup that just enhances your beauty versus it taking over your full look. Beautiful, beautiful palette. Really love this one. And then the last two that I have to mention are from Tom Ford, so I saved them for last. One of these will not be a surprise if you have watched my channel from the beginning. This is the Tom Ford Suspicion palette. I have to be careful holding up because I have hit pan on two shades, and this shade here is a little bit broken. So you can tell, I definitely love this. I am someone that uses my makeup when I love it. I don't let it just sit in the drawers. I want to use up my makeup. So I have hit pan, which excites me. Maybe one day I'll actually get through one of these eyeshadows. But this is, oh, it's such a beautiful formula. Again, this is a Beiges formula, so it is that wet to dry formula. This is a little bit different than the Chanel eyeshadow quad that I mentioned, the Mediterranean. It had that Beiges formula because the Chanel is more subtle and you need to build it up a little bit more. This gives you intensity right off the bat. You can just see that beautiful kind of glossiness, that intensity. It offers quite a lot of pigmentation right away, but it offers pigmentation without it being hard to blend, without it being over the top. Again, all these are shimmers. You don't have any mattes in this palette, but they pair together really beautifully. They sit on the eyes gorgeously. They really melt into your eyes as well. So they would work for more mature skin. If you have drier skin, they work for anyone because of this formulation and just how beautifully it sits on the eyes. It offers that gorgeous sheen without it having that intermittent shimmer, without it having sparkle or flecks of glitter or anything like that. Just a beautiful glossy finish. I love that for that kind of like supermodel glow look. This is perfect for the summertime as well because these are all warmer tones. Just one of my favorite eyeshadow quads. So, so beautiful. You can use these wet or dry. If you do use them wet, you will get quite a lot more intensity. So you'll get a deepening of color. So when you use these wet, the colors actually do get a little more deeper in tone, but they just look beautiful, wet or dry. I typically use this dry though. I never really use it wet. And I just love my look every time I use this. It is one of the most beautiful palettes in my entire collection. Just look at that glow and that glossiness and that reflectiveness without it being too much. Love this one. And then my last essential eyeshadow is the Tom Ford. This is the Eye Color Quad Creme in the shade Tiger Eye number 36. So Tom Ford released 3 palettes. This is just my favorite shade in all the palettes that he released. I did try out all 3 of them, but this is the one that has stayed really consistent in my routine. that I pull for over and over again that has just become an absolute favorite. I really like this one in particular because you get more shimmers in this formulation, in this color selection that you do in the other ones. And the shimmers in this quad are that beautiful sheen. They're that beautiful soft kind of reflection, that shimmer without it being glitter. There are no intermittent flecks in this, so you're not going to have any of that chunkiness on your eyes, which I just don't enjoy. So again, they're very soft, subtle shimmers that will look absolutely beautiful on mature eyes. I actually got my mom to get this palette as well because this is just one of my favorite formulas and I knew that she would love it as well, and she also does. It's just such a great palette. I don't even know, I didn't swatch that very well, but you can see it offers a beautiful reflection without it being over the top, like I've stated so many times. I feel like I've been kind of repetitive in this video, but you can just tell the kind of eyeshadow formula that I really like. And again, this is a cream to powder formula, so very similar to the Chantecaille Mermaid eye color, I would say. I say it's just not as pigmented as the Chantecaille Mermaid eye color. It's a little bit softer, so you have to build it up a little bit more. But when you feel these eyeshadows, they don't feel like an actual cream shadow again. They do feel like just a creamy powder. It's a very subtle kind of creaminess. It's beautiful though, and I love the looks that I can get out of this palette. Every time I wear this palette, I love the looks. And this matte shade, it actually is a really fantastic matte shade. I have applied this all over the lid and then layered some of the shimmers over top. It just is so buildable and is really blendable as well, which is really interesting for a deeper matte tone. Usually they can be a little finicky, a little harder to blend, but this one is very blendable. It is quite pigmented, so I would just say work slowly, but it does blend out like a dream. They're just a very smooth, beautiful formulation. One of my favorite new formulas on the market. But that is everything for this video. Those are all my top 10 eyeshadow essentials. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you to Allison Chase for the video inspiration. Again, I will link her video down below and I will link her channel down below. Let me know, please, your eyeshadow essentials, because if I didn't mention them or haven't tried them out, I would love to try out your favorites as well, because I do love to test out your favorites. I do write down all the things that you recommend to me so that I can have kind of a list and kind of pick and choose through that. And thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Like this video if you like it, and I'll see you in my next video.